For a non-resident whitetail archery tag in Iowa, there's a draw system that requires you to purchase and obtain preference points on years that you do not apply for a tag. Iowa is separated into 10 zones. Each zone is dedicated a specific number of tags for the draw. When applying, you may apply for one zone. If successful, you're allowed to hunt only that zone and can harvest one buck. The more popular zones require more preference points for being successful in the draw. With 5 preference points and some intel from some local Iowa hunters, I applied and was successful in drawing a tag for the zone of my choice. The area I chose as my first destination, or Plan A, proved to be as good or better than I expected. What I mean by that is that it held a solid population of whitetail, had a great habitat, and had an abundance of quality mature bucks. It only took me a few days to realize I had a decision to make. I could either choose to harvest a good 2 or 3 year old buck, or I could choose to gamble and hold out for a mature trophy whitetail that could quite possibly be a once-in-a-lifetime animal for myself, being that most of my hunting takes place in the deep south. On October 9th, I drew back on a buck, but with the light fading, I couldn't tell if he was big enough to meet my satisfaction, especially never even having experienced the rut here in Iowa. The very next sit in that tree was on October 28th, where I had my next encounter with the same buck, but with no shot. About 2.5 weeks ago when I was here on a scouting trip. That's the same deer, same buck. I had him at 20, I just didn't have a shot. I don't know what the camera angle looked like, but I'm above the camera, the way I run my camera's low. And there was only one small opening, he just hit it so fast, there's no way I could have stopped him in that opening. I mean, it was probably only about a 2-foot square circle, and he just kind of passed through it. And there was absolutely no other shot. He was just behind limbs and brush the whole time. That's the second time I saw him in this spot, though. I've seen this buck come off of this ridge twice. Seen a ton of does come off of here. So I got up on top of the ridge. Wind is northeast, which is kind of that way. Wish it was northwest, but it is what it is. This will have to do. Cornfield that way, timber this way. Big ridge drops off behind me. And I've seen this buck come off the top of this ridge and drop down to the creek, which is behind me at the bottom of this ridge. There's a logging road right in front of me with some scrapes on it and a couple of rubs. I hadn't even got set up in the tree, hadn't even got my bow up, and 2 small bucks came in right under me, so maybe they'll move this evening. Alright guys, it's about 10 minutes to 9. I've seen a bunch of deer this morning. I got busted by a really good buck. I'm going to say he was upper 140s, 150, maybe bigger than that. I couldn't hardly get a good look at him. He was quartering, going away from me, and I grunted at him. He was headed downwind of me anyway, and he turned, made a scrape, and got downwind of me. It's real thick in here. I can't see a deer until he's really close. It's just kind of bad because it's so windy you can't hear one coming. But I passed on another buck and seen 2 smaller bucks, so that's 4 bucks and 2 does, and every deer has been in range with a shot except that one buck. That's 3 opportunities, or close opportunities I would say. This is day 2 in Iowa. Just gotta get one in the right place at the right time. It is Halloween, and it is super windy today. Saw 3 small bucks this morning. It's kind of slow morning. I came into a different spot, pushed on down this creek a little bit. This creek forks, a bunch of ridges come together right here. Some heavy trails, good bit of sign here. They're still combining corn in that field, and I feel like it's pushed the deer away from that field on the other side of this creek. Yesterday I hunted this finger and seen 2 bucks and another deer. I couldn't tell what it was, and they came down this finger going toward those cornfields. So what I'm assuming is could be many of these deer is going to be on this side of the creek, do all the combining, and hopefully they'll filter out of there back toward this corn, toward dark. And this is where this creek forks and a bunch of stuff comes together right here, so there's some pretty heavy crossings. I heard something behind me. I heard something directly behind me. Turned around, and there he was, 30 yards, straight downwind. Oh, I tell you, I'm seeing good bucks. It's just every time I can't get one in bow range or in the right position, or they're downwind. It seems like it's just seems like I can't win for losing here lately. That was the only spot he could have came from and got downwind of me, literally. Unbelievable. That was a good boat too. That's the second time I've came to full draw on that buck. That's my fourth encounter with him. That is the luckiest deer alive. He was 38 yards. He stopped. I'm thinking my main camera was on him, but I'm not sure. I have to look at the footage. He stopped behind two trees. All his vitals in his head were behind those trees. I let off, and he turned and walked dead away. I threw a grunt and a snort at him. He never checked up. He just went on. Then, of course, about 15 minutes later, a 2-year-old 8-point comes and walks right under me. Story of my life here in Iowa. Story of my life here in Iowa. Hopefully things will change. So this morning was the second time I've drew on that big 10-point. That's the fourth encounter I've had with him. He was at 38 yards, and he went behind. There was like two trees side by side. He went behind them, and his head and his vitals were all behind them. And my plan was, well, when he walked out the other side, there was a couple little branches, and when he cleared them, I was going to have a shot at around 40. But being the luckiest deer alive, which is what he is, instead of making a couple of steps, he turns and goes straight away from me, headed toward that creek. I grunt, snort, wheeze. He never checks up. So, having said that, that's the third time I've seen him cross that creek in that area. It's probably about 100, 150 wide span that he's crossed that creek at least 3 times that I know for sure. The fourth time, I'm not sure if he crossed the creek or not. Anyway, I moved that set a little bit farther toward that creek crossing, up on a ridge where I know he's got a scrape where I first saw him this morning. Maybe I'll get an opportunity at him there. I don't know. Who knows? He's always where I'm not. He's where I'm at, but he's just always in the wrong spot. It's almost like if I pick a tree and I say, okay, I can shoot everywhere, but right here, you could just about guarantee that's where he's going to come, it seems like. Like I said, I think he must be the luckiest deer alive. I had that deer at 15 yards the first time I came up here. Drone, dead, perfect shot. But it was so dark I couldn't tell if the deer was big enough. I didn't know what he was at first. And I just decided not to take the shot. It was early season, and I just wasn't confident on what he was, if he was big enough. If I'd have had 5 more minutes of light, I would have known. And like I said, I know after the fact, after I let down and let him pass, I found out what he was. But anyway, I came out. As you can see, my truck's in kind of disarray. I'm doing a little organizing. I'm going to take a quick shower, get cleaned up, get back in the woods. It's warmed up a good bit today. It'll be the first shower I've had in about 4 days, I think. Too cold to get out here and shower when it never gets up to 40 degrees, but pretty nice day. It's going to be cold, but I can endure it for 5 minutes. So. I ain't gonna lie, I thought about it. He just ain't quite what I'm hoping for. But I thought about it. Sure did. I'm just hoping for something a little bit bigger. This ridge follows this creek and it plays out into a cornfield. Cornfield's that way. The timber runs the edge of the cornfield and the edge of that creek, and it comes to a point where the creek meets the corn. Where that creek meets the corn, there's a big bluff. And most of the deer are traveling down this ridge and then crossing that creek at some point before it meets that cornfield. I watched that buck come down that big ridge, drop off across the creek, and come right in here toward that bedding area. Just textbook. Problem is he's just not a shooter. He just doesn't have what I need him to have. That's the third buck that's walked by me since daylight. The kicker is, about 15 minutes before daylight, not long after I'd gotten a stand and got settled in, a big buck walked the creek. I heard him clear out or make 2 or 3 scrapes, walk right by me about 35, 40 yards, and just walk on up the creek. I was looking at him through my binos. I could barely make out that he just had a big framed rack. It was just too dark to see anything. And then, of course, after daylight, I have 3 bucks walk right by me. That's just been the story of my life here lately. That was a pretty buck. If he'd have been about 3 inches wider, I might have would have sent one. But I've passed a couple bigger than him. You know, I've passed a lot of bucks here in Iowa, a lot of bucks I could have shot. I could have filled a pickup truck up with 2-year-olds, even a few 3-year-olds. But sometimes it's not all about just killing a deer to me. Everywhere I hunt is size specific. If I hunt in Mississippi, all these deer I'm passing, I'm probably going to shoot. But up here, I know they're a lot bigger deer. And I don't have a problem waiting till the last few days to take a buck that's smaller than what I really want. And I really don't have a problem eating a tag if I have to. Because I came here for a reason. Not just to kill a buck, but to kill a big buck, because I know the potential is here. So a lot of people might not understand, why are you letting all these deer go? You drove all the way to Iowa, you spent all that money on a tag. That's not what it's about for me. I know the potential that's here, and I know what I want. And I drew on a couple big enough, but I just couldn't make it happen. So I'm not going to settle. Not right now, anyway. I'm not going to settle yet. But I watched that doe bring that buck from about 300 yards away all the way to me. When he lay down, he was about 60 or 70 yards from me. And I thought for sure she was going to bring him right this way, because most deer, when they come from the direction they came, they come right by me. I don't know. Unfortunately, this morning was another close encounter. I had a buck come right up this edge of this pasture behind me, right on the other side of this little old creek, and went right up this edge and right out into that pasture. It was a really good buck, and I just didn't have a shot opportunity on him. And I grunted and snort wheezed at him, but he was in the middle of chasing that doe. They never even stopped. I didn't get any footage of him. It happened so quick. But I've had several very, very close encounters and close calls. Just I haven't been able to make it work on any of them. That's just been the story of this whole trip. So I've had about enough of getting my butt whipped here in Iowa, to be honest with you. I'm going to pack it up, head in. I got a long drive ahead of me back to Louisiana. And I'm not going to lie, it's a hard pill to swallow. I got a lot of time and the money and just effort into this trip. And I thought, sure, this would be a tag that I would be able to fill. Having said that, I've passed a lot of bucks. I came here with what I wanted to shoot in mind, and in the back of my mind I knew that there was a possibility that I may have to not fill this tag, and I was willing to accept that. There's a lot of bucks I could have shot, but I came to Iowa with, a goal in mind. I knew that the ground I was hunting had that potential, and I knew they were there. And like I said, I had several very close calls, and it just didn't work out. But it's been a great experience. I've had a great time. I saw some awesome deer, met some great people. There's some great people in Iowa, really are. I met a couple of hunters who have shared information with me, and right now I'm actually even sitting in a tree this morning that one of them dropped me a pin and told me to come hunt. Back home in the South, that just doesn't happen. People aren't like that. So it's nice to get a breath of fresh air and meet somebody with some hospitality, and make some acquaintances that way. But I'm gonna pack it up and hit the road, head back to Louisiana. Sorry I didn't get a kill for you guys on camera on this trip this time. Hopefully you'll enjoy the footage, and at some point I will be back to Iowa. I don't know if it'll be back in this area or not. It takes so long to draw a tag. But I am going to try to put in for the turkey season here and hopefully get drawn for that. So see you guys next time.